Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Ryan. Today we're going to be diving into a bottle that has a lot of fanfare. A lot of people really go after this bottle for the past couple years especially. And very excited to have received a bottle courtesy of Delicious Dairy. I know, what a fun name. Delicious Dairy in our Discord said, hey, I got a bottle. You want it? I was like, yeah, I do. That'd be great. So hey, thank you so much, Delicious Dairy. Very kind to you. There she is on the shelf. Right, I'll get there eventually. Right there. Let's crack it open. Now, I will warn you, if you hear noises up above me, it's the last day of winter break for my children, and they are trying to squeeze every ounce of energy they've got left out of their tiny little bodies today. So you may hear some running around. All right, so we're going to hit this thing, and we'll see if it's worth the MSRP. So I am extremely grateful to Derry for sending this over to me because he saved me $170. Yeah, that's what this bottle goes for. It's $170 MSRP. And I'm so grateful I didn't have to spend it. So thank you so much, Derry. I love the thumb tab on the wax seal too. So Knob Creek 18. This is obviously made by Jim Beam Distillery there in Claremont. That's actually where I recently was because the distillery manager reached out and was like, hey, you guys want to come down? I was like, yeah. They hosted us on a day that they're closed to the general public, and we got the run of the place. We got to pick any bottles we want. They gave us a little private tasting as well, and a little room that's typically reserved for execs and special guests and stuff like that. Super cool. We got Hardin's Creek, Little Book, Booker's, Baker's 13 year. I mean, they treated us really well. So they're great folks over there in Claremont. We like them. I got a lot of fun content planned for the next couple of weeks too, so stay tuned for that. But people have been really generous. Some bottles I've really been hunting have come in. So I recently just covered actually what I think is probably one of my favorite ryes I have ever tried. It's right over my right shoulder. This one right here that I'm wiggling. The Old Overholt 10 year cask strength rye. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. If you haven't watched that one, check that video out. So I mentioned at the tasting they were using these glasses, and I thought they were really cool. And I didn't research or look up why they are shaped the way they are as opposed to a standard Glencairn. I noted that in a previous video. Some folks actually weighed in on that, and they said, well, the reason they do the button in the middle, right, it's like a donut. So the liquid sits in there sort of in a ring shape. And they said the reason for that is the surface area of glass to hand, like the amount of liquid that is actually in contact indirectly through the glass with the warmth of your hand is greater than a Glencairn. So the idea is that, you're supposed to drink these whiskeys at room temperature, and your hand does a good job of keeping that temperature regulated. Which, I don't know, is it really enhancing the experience or not? I'm not sure. It just looks really cool. It looks like I'm drinking out of a fancy donut glass. And I'm a simple man, and I think that's neat. I gotta say, one thing I forgot to mention, this is 100 proof, right? So it's not 18-year cask strength. And there's a lot of older expressions that do get proofed down quite a bit. I think of, for example, right there, Elijah Craig, 18-year. If I'm not mistaken, that's a 90 proofer. So 18-year whiskey. It sat in a barrel in a warehouse for 18 years just to get watered down to 90 proof. I thought that was a little too diluted because all I get on that bottle is just oak. But this one is not diluted down quite so much. This is just brought back down to 100 proof, which I think is a really sweet spot in general. I mean, I love good barrel strength, cask strength products, and the thick oiliness that you get on a lot of those products. But I also really appreciate something that's just really easy to sip over time. 100 proof is a great sweet spot there where you get the best of both worlds in many regards. And the nose on this reminds me a lot of I think of a coffee cake with maybe a nutty strudel on top, you know what I'm saying? Like those crushed sweet peanuts in icing of some kind over a sweet cake of some kind with a little bit of cinnamon and baking spices swirled in. Oh, it's beautiful. A little bit of seasoned oak on that as well. I expected a lot more oak forward coming off of something like I think of the Elijah Craig 18 year, which I just mentioned being so oaky. I don't know, maybe it's just seeing the 18 on the label that makes my mind start to brace for impact and expect just a whole lot of oak. The oak is definitely there, but it is offset. It's in harmony with those other notes. Yeah, cinnamon, cake batter, crushed nuts in a sweet icing. Really appealing nose. Let's try it. Cheers. On the palate, the oak is definitely more pronounced than it is on the nose. It's a sweet oak, but a lot of oak on that palate for sure. And those great cake and nut notes that I got on the nose, they're sort of a quick flyby on the palate. They come in, they say hello, and then they turn right around and walk out the door. They don't hang around for very long. A lot of vanilla and oak on the finish. That's what lingers the most to me. Even a little bit of like a honey note on that finish. But the finish does not last long. For an 18-year-old product, I kind of wish that it would last longer, you know? You spent 18 years in a barrel just to fly by my palate and then leave it seconds after. I wish it would stick around, you know, kick its shoes off and stay a while. Man, unfortunate, but I think that I've had better expressions of Knob Creek at the 12-year age. They have a lot more of that bottom end, you know what I mean? I've said this before, but when I think of a well-balanced sip of whiskey, especially bourbon, one of the things I really like is sort of a pear-shaped taste. What I mean by that is I want it to have some body to it, you know? You like those lighter notes, the little bit of a tannic oak, a little bit of that cinnamon spice, but I also like some base to it as well to really hold everything up. A nice rounded bottom that has those caramely notes, those nutty notes, sweet vanillas, butterscotches, those things that we love about bourbon. And I feel like this was just a little imbalanced in that regard. It's a little more top heavy. I want some base to it. It's all treble. Yeah, the notes that I get are good. They're pleasant. It's by, you know, no stretch of the imagination a bad sip at all. But for $170 and 18 years of age, yeah, it just needs a little more base for my palate. I'm in a bourbon group here in Grand Rapids, and a lot of people absolutely adore that Elijah Craig 18 year. And when I, shared that I wasn't a huge fan of it, just because I felt like it needed that base, it was all treble. Same thing with this Knob Creek 18 year expression, although that one's even more so because it's just 90 proof. One of the things that people said is they're like, I adore this bottle, the Elijah Craig 18 year, because I just really love that oak note. That I just really love that quick flyby, tannic oak with some sweetness in there. And that's what they love about that product, and that's great. And I'm assuming that people who love this bottle probably like those same notes. So if you're a big fan of this bottle, hey, more power to you. There's no accounting for taste. We like what we like. In fact, one of the videos I have planned is my worst whiskey of 2023, the worst sip I had in 2023. I'm sure some people are going to be like, yo, I love that bottle. That's totally fine. But that'll be an interesting video because I likened it to a gym locker with a dirty sock in it. Yeah, I had that one on a live stream, so that'll be fun to cover. It'll be fun to make me drink that one again, right? All right, so Knob Creek, 18 year. Big shout out to Delicious Dairy for procuring this bottle for me. Like I said, this is not a bad sip. And what's in there, the flavors I do get are fantastic. I want them to linger on a little bit longer. I want an oilier coating on the mouth. And I want some base to it to just let those flavors come forward and hang out a little bit more. So if I were to give this for a rating based on my scale, and I try to take everything into account, right? I want to take into account the story, the heritage, the history. I want to take into account the price tag, and I want to take into account the sip. All of that stuff matters to me. I think for me, per my scale, I think I'm going to give the Knob Creek 18 year a 6.9. It's nice. Man, I really do think the best part of this is the nose. The nose is actually very good. And it set a high bar that I didn't feel like the palate really fully delivered on, unfortunately. There you go, 6.9, really good. This is something that I would go rushing out to replenish the second it hits 0 in that bottle. Probably not. I think actually I'd be more likely to pick up like a 12-year barrel pick of Knob Creek. I actually think I like those more. But there you have it, Knob Creek 18. Make sure you let me know what you think of this bottle if you've had it yourself. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Really appreciate all the love and support on the channel of late. Also, big shout out to my Patreon supporters for helping fund the bottles that we get to review here on the channel and keep the content flowing. If you want to get involved in our community, there's several ways to do that. We have a free Discord that you can go ahead and jump into. There's a link in the description. We got now, I think we're about to hit 100 people in that Discord. Just super cool. Just bourbon lovers, whiskey lovers, sharing recommendations, swapping stories, all that stuff. It's good fun. So check that out. Also, feel free to join the Patreon. You can do so for as little as $1 a month if you want, and that helps to fund the bottles that we get to review here on the channel. So thank you so much for all your love and support. Appreciate it. Cheers. May you live richly and get better with age. Hope to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.